episode 3. I'm here with Jack Skovgaard, mortgage, our preferred mortgage person. I mean, how long have we been working together, Jack? It's been a couple of years.
Couple of years now, yeah.
And it's something I haven't told you or talked to you about is you really impressed my dad, who was a lender starting out in the business. And the fact that you were able to work on Annalise's loan. Annalise is my sister, and Jack was able to use her finances. She has a W-2 job, but she also has an interior design business and also Airbnb business. And so she has kind of tricky funds that you have to finagle with. Jack was able to get her a higher loan to value ratio, and
yeah, we got her into a higher price point that she wanted to be
exactly
in, to be shopping in the neighborhood that she wanted for her next project.
And the guys that we've been using in the past, kind of didn't step up to the plate. Jack stepped up, did a great job. We've been using him ever since. He's done great. We haven't had not one single issue.
Yeah,
and we've closed every single deal so far. So that's a little bit about Jack. I wanted to dive in more about you, kind of let everyone know a little bit more about yourself. So where did you grow up?
So I grew up here in Long Beach, born and raised, elementary school through high school. Did the minigate Stanford Wilson track.
Okay.
Second generation, third generation Long Beach resident.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Right on. So you ran track?
No, just did the the elementary school, middle school, high school that I went to.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
I understand.
Most East Long Beach area.
Did you go to college afterwards, or did you?
I did. I went to college in San Francisco.
Oh, cool.
At USF.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, a small Jesuit college up there. And
wait, University of San Francisco, right? Yeah. They're like purple or something.
The Dons.
The Dons.
Yeah.
Did you like it?
The Dons. It was great. Yeah, honestly, it was a unique college experience going from a high school like Wilson to a college that had about the same amount of people as Wilson. Was unique because I had thought I wanted to do something larger like that big college campus experience, but I found it much more rewarding after being at USF for a year to be kind of like immersed in some smaller classes and get to know a lot of different people around campus. Cool. It's a pretty unique campus in terms of students coming from a lot of international students, a lot of out-of-state students, a lot of Hawaii. So not as many like California specific students as you would think. So got a lot of cultural immersion.
Cool.
A lot of
That's awesome. What did you study there?
I was a communication studies and with a PR minor.
Oh.
So my goal going into school was to work in advertising.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you think I'd be better at advertising myself, but that was the goal and that was the intention. And I shifted gears about halfway through school towards film and TV, and ended up graduated from school, going into the TV business, working at NBC Bravo.
Really?
NBC Oxygen, kind of sister network of Bravo.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so that brought you back to LA, I'm assuming?
It did. It brought me back to LA. It was either work in LA or work in New York. And I'm not an East Coast guy. So I love Long Beach. I'm Long Beach through and through, and didn't want to leave. I mean, even when I was working in LA, I was commuting from Long Beach, which is
it's
insane. A drag. You do the drive up there sometimes.
I do.
Yeah.
And it's rough.
So it was a unique experience. Came back and did that for 6-7 years before getting into the mortgage business about 8 years ago. I know a pretty abrupt change in career focus.
That's crazy. Yeah.
But I had someone in the mortgage business who had reached out to me a couple times to kind of try and pull me over, and hadn't quite been ready to do so at the time. And it just came to a point in my TV career where I needed to try something different. And so I was able to transition a lot of the skill sets that I had acquired in that industry into the mortgage field.
Cool. Yeah, shoot. So you were working in TV. Was it a friend or someone just called? You got like an email, like a
Yeah, he's a friend.
Okay, a friend.
Yeah, somebody I've known since middle school.
And he's
Kind
been
of ran in same circles with some other friends, and I think it was just a kind of a good opportunity. Like
yeah.
we weren't super close friends at the time, so there was little risk, but we knew like quality things about each other. Both knew each other to be good guys through the mutual friends that we had. But yeah, right. If it didn't work out, it's not like doing business with your best friend where anything would blow up. So it was kind of a low risk experiment for both of
Oh,
us.
cool.
But I owe a lot to him. He kind of talked to me about the business and what the opportunities could be held. The opportunities that could be had for me in the mortgage business, and having never done it a day in my life, it was kind of a risk, right? Just kind
Yeah.
of standing up, jumping out on a ledge and being like, okay, I'll trust you.
Yeah.
Let's go for it.
Let's do
And
it.
I got some real immersive experience in that office, kind of sitting in there as helping as an assistant on his files while I was getting my licensing, and very small brokerage. So there's not much better experience than you can get than working in a small place on every file that's coming through and getting an old school education of how to calculate income, how to work a file, how to problem solve through guidelines. And I think just an experience not a lot of mortgage professionals get
Yeah.
nowadays.
It was kind of transition to my next question, because it was like, did you go into a big bank or a boutique? Because you're at a boutique.
So I'm at a bigger shop now. So the first brokerage that I was at was very small, very very boutique. About 3 LOs for most of the time, but
And when you say LOs, what?
loan officers,
Loan
excuse me.
officers. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, 3 loan officers for most of the time, and our own in-house processing and operations team, meaning like a loan officer assistant and
Okay.
junior processor. So doing that for about 7 years, 7.5 years, you learn a lot. It's
Yeah.
like being in a bullpen with people where not only are you learning on your own files, but you're learning on the problems that other people are having on their files, right? So um, it's like I got the experience of 3 people over 7 years, which is aids in being able to accomplish files like your sister's purchase.
Yeah,
When
absolutely.
we're trying to figure out how to use income that is a bit outside the norm and not every lender will acknowledge.
For sure. Yeah,
But
absolutely.
now I'm at a bigger spot. I'm at United American Mortgage in Costa Mesa. They
Okay.
have probably over 100 loan
Oh, wow.
officers now. And they are, they allow me a bit more, to be a bit more autonomous and kind of build my own personal business and brand the way I see fit, and uh, provide a lot of options for banking for lenders. So I can broker at this lender and I can bank and be a direct lender, which just depends on what's best for the client.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which way we go.
Yeah. I was reading this article today, actually, and it was interesting. It was talking about how last year it was like 1/3 of all the houses, and this is United States. So our market's hyper local. It's a lot different than this, but 1/3 of the properties were bought all cash, and so that means 2/3 are all mortgage, or people need a loan. And I thought that was quite more than I thought that was a normal amount. Are you seeing a lot of cash these days, or are you seeing more people going for loans? Because interest rates have gone up, but they're kind of stabilizing. And you've been telling me it's like, you can't give me an answer because it's going like this.
It's a roller coaster from week to week. It's a bit of a unique question, right? Because if someone's buying cash, like I'm not typically talking to that person. So I kind of rely on the agent partners that I work with to give me insight when they have listings, or buyers. Kind of hard when they have buyers to know who they're necessarily competing against. But right when you guys have listings, you kind of see what types of offers are coming in. So when I have buyers that get beat out and I'm told it's all cash, I take people at their word that was the case. So I still see a few out there, but right now, right, with as you guys are seeing with the low inventory, there's a lot of offers on houses again.
Yes.
Let's just say conservatively 10 plus
Yeah.
offers per house. I would say at least one is usually cash.
What we see is the cash is usually wants a deal.
Right.
And so we're usually just like I don't remember the last time we accepted an all cash offer
Right.
on like a lot of our listings. And it's usually someone who's, a family who wants the house to grow, a young family, or, a baby boomer that, that's moving to their grandchildren. And that's kind of who we've been seeing coming in buying our listings, but they, it's very, very small. I would say I would say the majority, like 90% of them, is all mortgage based.
Yeah, generally need some sort of financing. And right now, with rates being where they are, if you have all cash, it's a great way to buy. But I wouldn't expect a deal, right? Like if you're going to buy the property, buy the property. Getting financing doesn't make your offer any less.
Yeah, it's at the end of the day, the seller's going to get
the same money,
the same amount of money. Yeah.
So it really just comes down to how you and I are structuring the offer for the buyer, and how we're preparing our clients prior to getting out and looking at houses and seeing offers, right? With a little extra preparation and due diligence through a broker like myself, we can get pretty hyper competitive and put our clients into situations where they're competing with offers that are as good as cash. Maybe you're offering a higher amount, or at list, or a higher amount, but with the contingencies we have in place, right? Like if I know that I've done the due diligence on a file, there's no reason why my client's loan isn't going to get processed. Like the loan contingency is really unnecessary.
Yeah.
It's a safety net for sure.
Absolutely.
Safety net for sure. But if the idea is to compete with people who are all cash buyers who don't have those contingencies.
We're back. I had to take a quick phone call. We were just finishing up discussing it, and just wanted to go segue into another question. And this is a big one, kind of scary. I don't know. You tell me. I saw this TikTok, of course. TikTok. I don't know whether I should believe it or not, but not a lot of people. I haven't really heard it. My sister sent it to me. I haven't really been seeing much information about it, but I guess there's some new regulations going on coming next month for buyers with good credit, and they're going to get penalized for like that.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, and it's a bit misleading information.
Okay.
So accurate in the overall sense, but how the information is being represented is very misleading. So this is kind of just hitting the public right now.
Yeah.
But these pricing adjustments they're called LLPAs, loan level pricing adjustments.
Okay.
So whenever you qualify for a mortgage, or your interest rate pricing has a lot of these loan level pricing adjustments accounted for, which results in your final rate pricing, which is why like the par interest rate, as I refer to it sometimes to you when we're talking about clients, is like that interest rate you qualify for without paying any points and without like getting any credit back from the lender. And not all borrowers' par rate is the same.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
And the reason is because there are pricing adjustments for loan to value, so for down payment amounts, for credit score, for second home, investment properties, high balance. There's a lot of things that can affect a rate pricing. These pricing adjustments were implemented like in February.
Oh, wow.
Or this news came out in February, and lenders have been implementing them in their pricing for the past few months already. So this is not something that is like just happening now, May 1st. Like you've got to get a loan and get it done by May 1st to avoid that pricing adjustment. It's already in there.
Okay.
Across the board, most credit score levels had a reduction in these loan level pricing adjustments in some fashion. There is a section which is causing the most excitement. This is what's causing media outlets to report about it, and people are losing their heads over the fact that and it's a bit of a head scratcher. I'll admit, I'm not for it for sure. There's a section in which like higher credit score borrowers who are putting down generally 15 to 20% are now being charged, I believe it's 12 and a half basis points more for that pricing hit. So it went from 25 basis points previously to now 37 and a half. However,
So does that mean that the buyer now has to bring more money to the table, or is it more fees that they're going to have to pay, or is it what does that mean for the consumer?
So it's generally a cost of that rate. So you can still get the same interest rate, right? Higher credit score borrowers are still getting better rates than lower credit score borrowers. That is not changing. The cost of that rate is what's changing. So
Is that buying the points down, or is
yeah, essentially. So if we just take what the previous loan level pricing adjustment was to the new one, let's say for a 780 credit score with 20% down, if previously that was a par rate, now there's about 12 and a half basis points in points that the buyer is paying for to get that same rate. So it's pretty minimal overall, but no one likes to be charged more money for something, and it's hard for the consumer to see. It's on the back end.
no? Yeah. So is that paid through 30 years, or is that an upfront cost?
Yeah, it can be it could be either. So the pricing is built into the rate. So if I would say more often than not, it's an upfront cost because it's the cost of that rate for the transaction that you're closing on a purchase, right? For refinance, it could be financed in, and maybe it's financed over that 30-year period if you get a 30-year mortgage.
What do you think caused this? Why are they doing this?
They are trying to make buying more affordable for more people.
Okay.
So
they're saying that people with good credit scores are buying up all the houses. So let's equalize it. Is that kind of what you're saying?
I don't want to put words in their mouth, but it's like, for instance, someone with a 780 credit score putting 5% down has now had a reduction in those loan level pricing adjustments. So they're making it easier for someone with less money, even if they have good credit, to buy property, right? It's costing them a little less. They also lowered a lot of the lower credit score. Think of it as a chart, right? Credit scores across the top, credit scores vertically, and loan to value ratios across the top. And you can it's a grid. And there's different LLPAs for different scenarios. 680 credit score, 10% down. 700 credit score, 5% down, right? There's a different box for all these LLPAs. And something that I can certainly go over with people on a one-on-one basis with calls, because it's unique to each person's scenario. But generally, like what they're not talking about is people with 780 credit scores who put 25.1% down now don't have any LLPAs, whereas before it was 50 basis points. They've reduced those 50 basis points. So they've made it extremely more affordable for someone, instead of putting 25% or 20% down, putting 25.1% down. And don't get me wrong, it's not easy to come up with another 5% in this housing market. I don't mean it to make it sound like that's just simple for people to do. But whereas there had been pricing adjustments for high credit score borrowers all the way down to 60% LTV, now a lot of those are removed up to 74.9% LTV. So they may have increased the pricing slightly for what is generally the most common down payment amount.
20%.
20% down.
That's what everyone's looking for. They're like, I just don't have the 20%.
Right.
I want to buy a house. I just don't.
But they've reduced it in other areas, generally across the board for most people. So it's easy to think of like hey, we are subsidizing, higher credit score borrowers are subsidizing the cost of lower credit score borrowers, and that's a great tagline to get a lot of media attention. Um, but you could look at it alternatively as well, like higher credit score borrowers with 20% down are subsidizing the cost for higher credit score borrowers with 25.1% down.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make as good of a news story.
Yeah.
It's easier to pit higher credit score people against lower credit score people. And the reality is, they're trying to make it affordable for more people. My personal opinion is they probably should have just not raised that at all for the 20% downers and just left it at 25 basis points, and nothing, this wouldn't have even been a story.
Yeah, that's interesting. So do you think they're trying to change, I don't know, like, are they like ultimately trying to get people to put more money down to make it like a, thing? Or do you think a factor also is, we've been seeing a lot of like seller buy, obviously it's not happening as much now because the market has changed a little bit. But I mean, in the beginning of the year, we were seeing a lot of offers, good offers, over list offers, but they had, put 20% of the purchase price goes towards the seller to buy down the buyer's rate. Do you think that could have been some of that? Their lending companies seeing more people buying rates down, putting more money into their loans to, kind of.
People, I would say, over the past year and a half, were certainly buying the rate down, right? I mean, over the last year and a half.
I mean, I've done it with both of the properties that I own.
Yeah.
And I bought, I think, 2 points on every single one. Okay. Which was a lot of money.
It is a lot, yeah, and it's a preference, right? Because when you're buying down, you're looking at the long run of that rate, right? Yes. Like, how long am I going to be at this rate to recuperate the cost of my buy down? So,
and I think when I did the math, it was like 7 to 10 years that it would make sense to do that. I don't know, but I should know.
Yeah, but I mean, that's really the reason someone buys the rate down from what that market rate is they're investing in a lower rate, and hoping that reduction in that rate ends up saving them more money over time. So do we, over the last year and a half, we've seen 7 Federal Reserve interest rate hikes.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of that, as things were creeping, got some buyers who definitely bought down the rate at that time, who are feeling really good about that option, because it's going to be, could be years before we see, could be, who knows? I don't even want to speculate and get anybody's excitement up, but it could be years and years before we see rates down in the, like the par rate, that market rate, down in the 4s again. People online and people who like to sell you things will always tell you, like, oh, I can get you a rate in the 5s or the 4s right now, or whatever. And what you really need to look at is how much that costs you.
Gotcha.
To get down to that rate. So it's just like a selling tactic in the mortgage business that I don't like to subscribe to.
Yeah.
Like, here's where the rate is, because at the end of the day, like, my job and your job is to help people look out for their long-term financial interests. You on the investing in the real estate side, and me on financing that real estate. And the goal is not to cost people more money over time just because it sounds good to get a lower rate, if it's not financially practical decision.
Yeah, if it doesn't make sense. I mean, shoot. So going on to, a next, question. Like, this is a lot of information. It's a lot of stuff to like keep up to date on with. How do you stay up to date with, your business? And then also you kind of have to stay up to date with real estate, because it's like 2 and 2 go in hand. So you have the lending side, and then you also have the real estate side.
Yeah.
Like, how do you stay up to date with all your news and information? And
there's a lot of different mortgage industry specific resources that I dive into and dial into, in which I kind of regurgitate and simplify that information for my clients and my agent partners.
Yeah. I mean, we get your emails all the time.
You get my rate updates.
Yes.
So, get those sent out on Mondays and try and simplify.
I really want him to do it video, by the way. I'm still trying to get it, but
yeah, I'll start working on those.
I love it. I think it'd be so good. No one's doing it. I actually, no one, I've seen, I don't know if you guys know it. I think it's Chris Fanolio. He does it, and I think it's a great job. I think you would kill at it. And
yep, I need to. I send out the emails with that information anyway. I just need to get on camera and do it. This is the first camera sighting that I've been on in years. I did a few videos when I was kind of first starting out in the business to try and get some informational content out there to buyers, and I have plans to start doing more.
Yeah. No, I mean it's hard to start. I think there's a lot of resources. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of effort, but it just went. I mean, shoot, I spent an hour the other day on a 30-second TikTok video. An hour. I probably rehearsed that thing 150 times. It was ridiculous. I almost kicked over the stand and I was just done with it. It was very difficult, but I mean, I think it reached, I was looking at the numbers today, I think it reached like 700 and some odd people.
Nice.
I can't talk to that many people
in
an hour, let alone the whole day. So that's where I get myself to like, all right, this is kind of working. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, any amount that you do and get out there is positive, and it builds and grows on itself. And getting information like this out to people is definitely helpful as well. One thing I'll actually circle back on that LLPA conversation is a lot of people are asking me like, well, shouldn't I just put 5% down?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Instead of the 20, and then put more money down when I get into the loan, so I get the better priced rate. And there's some nuances to that, right?
Yeah.
You can get into a home, you can put less money down, and you have generally the first year of home ownership to do what's called a recasting of the loan, meaning you can put a larger lump sum down payment down, and they'll recast your payment, re-amortize it over your term, or the remainder of your term, however many. Let's say you do it 6 months in, 29 and a half years, they'll re-amortize. So your payment will lessen, right?
Yeah.
If you put 5% down and then you put another 15% down a couple months into the loan. The trick with that is you can't necessarily guarantee that the mortgage insurance is going to fall off. And some lenders don't have an issue with that. They'll just drop it off. Some lenders do. That aspect's a little bit of a gamble. And I can talk to people kind of one-on-one basis about mortgage insurance rates, but it also, there's a recasting fee generally. So you want to make sure that whatever you're saving in terms of that lower LLPA cost is beneficial. Like you're saving more off that cost than it costs to recast the fee and potentially pay any mortgage insurance for how many months.
That's very interesting. Yeah.
To do with like beating out cash buyers.
Okay.
Right. Like generally
to update you, we are talking about, do you have any, Jack got another phone call. Gosh, Jack. But anyways,
this is how important my clients are to me.
Exactly. I love the service that you're providing. Clients, this is why we like to work with you, because this is how we do the same thing. When
I have clients signing tonight, and I got to make sure everything's proper on their docs. And if filming has to stop, I got to stop the filming to make it happen.
But I was asking him, I was like, do you have any, a story or experience that you had that with past clients that was like kind of a success story? And so continue, sorry.
Yeah, no, I was thinking, the general answer, right, is anybody I get into a home is a success story, but some are easier than others, just due to different periods of the market. I think over the past year and a half, I've helped a lot of people buy homes, and those successes are due to like good partnerships and like correctly preparing people to buy, correctly preparing them to write competitive offers, getting their files to 100% underwritten before we have an offer accepted, so that we can remove or shorten contingencies pretty excessively, and building relationships with successful local agents who have relationships with other agents in the area is a huge factor.
It
you
is.
know, a
It is
huge
a
factor.
factor that actually isn't talked about
I've
very
got
often.
I've got a set of clients right now who are potentially trying to look in the Lakewood area. Giving them your name today,
Oh, awesome.
and
Thank you.
yeah, and thinking about getting an agent who generally specializes in the Orange County area. And it's not, I'm trying to tell them, like, listen, I will work with anybody, any agent, right? And it's not to say that this person won't do a good job from Orange County. And if that's who you choose, then we'll figure out the best way to get you into a home. But there is an extreme benefit to working with someone who knows the local market and has the local relationships, and can get your file floated to the top. So
Absolutely.
Those, I think, are the biggest successes.
Yeah.
Getting those connections and like working with people to get them into homes.
Yeah, and I think especially when it comes to like a knowledgeable local agent, I mean, you can go over one street and you're in a completely different neighborhood. If given instance, Bixby Knolls, San Antonio, if one side of San Antonio kids go to Clara Barton, another side of San Antonio kids go to Longfellow, Hughes, and those middle schools, and those middle schools have different school ratings, and those school ratings typically have an effect on price value. So depending on where you want to be, because there's still good neighborhoods and there's still good homes in that it just depends on what you're kind of moving here for. So it's
Right.
you got to have those little niche knowledgeable stuff to kind of help you out. But yeah. It's just a little thing. Well, I think we've been going on for about an hour. It's been quite a lengthy one, but really enjoyable.
Yeah.
I like to always finish off with this question, and what is your perfect or dream home?
Dream home.
And Alan said it was this, but it is a pretty cool house. But I'm just saying, you're telling me you're not going to live on a freaking cliff?
I think about this a lot.
Yeah.
In this business. I think about this a lot. There's different categories of my perfect dream home, right? Like my perfect dream home in Long Beach, my perfect dream home in general. I think if I could,
let's say if you could live anywhere. You're retired. This is, set aside any other family or stuff like that. Just
I think
personally, where would you be? Where's the house?
I would really enjoy having a cliff house in Cambria.
Oh wow!
Yeah, up the coast in Cambria.
Love it.
There's like a fairly private dead end street just off the end of a marsh, and I look on Zillow all the time, and there's never a house for sale. That's not in my budget right now either. But I noticed that they rarely come up for sale. It feels like a place where people go and like
just get away from everything.
They don't sell. This is like they keep it in the family for however long. But it is like beautifully right on the ocean, and it's like not beach access, like not a beach house type of thing, which is fine. Like I don't really want a beach house. Like, I want the view of like
and you don't want all the commotion and everything.
There's like no commotion. Yeah, no people or anything.
That's cool. I love
perfect Long Beach home. I want something with land.
Okay.
I want a big lot.
Big lot.
Few and far between. So I always keep my eye out for those. Like even a small house.
Sounds like you need to move to Bixby Knolls.
Maybe. I don't know. I've got my eye on something in the East Long Beach area.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll see if it comes up in a couple of years.
Cool. Right on. Well, thank you, Jack. I appreciate it. And this is episode 3 of the Team Fasnacht podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Perfect. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.